Hello, everybody, and thank you for patiently waiting. Welcome to our National Graduate Week. I'm your host, Josh, from CareerMap TV, and today we're joined by NDA. During this session, we'll learn what it's like to work at NDA and get some great insights from current employees. There will be a Q&A segment at the end of the webinar, so feel free to leave any questions in the chat box and we'll get back to them after the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off this webinar with a quick video. So if you just bear with me 2 seconds while I get that playing for you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jacq. I'm the NDA's Group People Development Director, and I'm the sponsor of the NDA Group Graduate Programme. Really pleased to welcome you here today and hope that you get some really great information, find a little bit about the NDA Group, really get some understanding about the programme that we're running. So just about the opportunities within the NDA and why we run the graduate programme. So we were created in 2005 through the Energy Act, and we have a legal responsibility to maintain and develop the skills required for the UK to deliver the decommissioning mission. So the decommissioning mission is the cleaning up of all of the nuclear sites across the UK. So the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority consists of 5 different organisations. We have the NDA itself, which is about 400 people strong. We have Sellafield, NRS, which is Nuclear Restoration Services, NTS, Nuclear Transport Solutions, and NWS, which is Nuclear Waste Services. We currently have 17 sites across the UK, in England, Wales and Scotland. And soon, with one of our new missions, which is around decommissioning the EDF AGR fleet, we'll move up to about 24 different sites, again, across the UK. We have a 120-year mission. That sounds absolutely massive. It sounds really, really long. But what it does mean is that we continuously invest in our people. We invest in the development of our technologies, innovation, different people across the UK in delivering that long-term mission, which is of global importance. So if you think about it, we don't just deliver nuclear, it's an environmental restoration mission. We also support the energy security of the UK by developing the skills that we need across the sector to deliver new build, to generate power, and also to work with our colleagues across the defence part of nuclear. So what is nuclear? What is the NDA? So I've already said we're 5 organisations. We're 17,000 people strong. We have over 900 different roles. We're across sites across Wales, England and Scotland. We deliver different parts of decommissioning. So those range from looking at how we deal with the waste created through the nuclear sites across the UK. So that can be around storage, that can be around disposal, that can be around reprocessing. But basically it's around making our nuclear legacy safe, restoring the sites on which we're based so that those are safe and we can repurpose those sites. So there are lots of different roles across the NDA. We have a really, really strong legacy and heritage around STEM subjects. So we develop engineers, we develop scientists, technical people, but it's much more than that. We need people from all different degree subjects and functions to help us deliver that mission, whether you're working in conventional construction, whether you're working in engineering, where you're working in some of our science and R&D areas of work, but also around HR, which I work in, communications, finance, risk, assurance, audit, logistics, transport, lots and lots of different roles. We have 8 different career paths and jobs families, and also we have over 900 different roles across the NDA. So I would really, really encourage you to find out a little bit more about our programmes. This year we've recruited over 120 graduates in the NDA Group Graduate Programme and over 140 in the Sellafield programme. So this year we've taken on a record number of graduates and we're looking to increase that number next year. We've taken on over 300 graduates across all of our programmes, the majority of which have been across those STEM subjects, but also at least 30% are in some of those back office functions and professional service areas. So please just take a look at what we've got to offer. We offered not just, a really fantastic career opportunity. We've got a 120-year mission. We have a brilliant reward package that encourages you to develop, professionally and personally. We offer mobility across the NDA Group, across those 5 organisations, across those 17 sites, and really the opportunity to start your career within the NDA and develop as a person and as a professional as we take you and you help us support in the delivery of that mission. We're really, really committed to diversity. We want a workforce that represents the society in which we operate in 2024. So that's not just around the protected characteristics, it's around addressing our shortage in and discrepancies in our gender, but it's also around some of those other areas of diversity. So those diversity of thought, we need a range of different people who think at problems in different ways to help us deliver that mission. We're really, really committed to that. We have a really thriving diversity and inclusion programme of work, lots of different networks. We really support our individuals and our workforce, and we're really committed to creating a culture in which our people can thrive, whatever walk of life that you come from, whichever area of the UK you come from, and wherever you work. We're really, really committed to that. We really want to see people who want to help us work through the challenges that our mission offers, help us work through some of those solutions, some of those questions, some of those big industrial challenges that we face. How can we do things safer? How can we do things faster? How can we do things cheaper? And all of those technologies will really support the UK's mission around nuclear, power generation, energy security. And we're really, really looking forward to having a conversation with you.
I would love it if you would consider applying to us in the NDA Group. We've got 17,000 people, we've got 17 sites, and we can offer a vast variety of career opportunities and covering all disciplines. You'll also be joining the nuclear sector, which is a key part of the government policy moving forward. You'll also be joining one of the biggest environmental projects in the world. We're also keen to create an open and diverse and inclusive culture so people feel respected and included when they come to work. So I do hope you can ask many questions today, and I hopefully can meet you one day as a graduate as part of the NDA Group. Best of luck and thanks for listening.
Amazing. Now, hopefully everybody was able to see that second video. If not, please don't worry. We have got plenty of time to go through all the information that is needed today. But yeah, as promised, what I'm going to do now is pass over to the NDA colleagues, and they're going to be able to go through kind of their personal background and just answer any questions that you guys might have as we go in through it. So yeah, I'm just going to take this time to invite everybody back on, and I'm going to pop off and leave it to you guys. Thank you very much.
Great. Who would like to start?
You can start.
Okay, I'll get mine. Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Michael McGlynn. I am a business planning graduate. So that kind of doesn't really mean much in the kind of circumstances of my secondment. So I started at the NDA last year and did a year in finance, but covered all things from reporting to business planning and also being a financial business partner. So, a wide range of different experiences on that secondment. And I'm now at the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero, working on the policy behind advanced nuclear technology. So I'm about a month and a half, 2 months into that now, and really enjoy it.
Finished?
Do you want me to go?
Yep.
Go on, Jacq.
Who, Dan?
Go on, Jacq. You go.
Oh, okay. So I'm Jacq Huddart. I have an integrated master's chemistry degree. I joined the NDA last year with everybody else, straight from uni, as a technical graduate. So if you did science or engineering, you'd join as technical. I'm sponsored by Sellafield, so I spent a year working up in Cumbria on site in, Jacq mentioned in the video, if you didn't hear it, in the thermal oxide reprocessing plant, which is now closed and it is being decommissioned. So I worked there for a year, which included like writing papers, data analysis, other technical things. And then I had a bit of a change on my second secondment, so I'm now working with Mike at DESNES. in the nuclear fuels policy team. So that basically looks at like the landscape of nuclear fuel across the UK and the world, and forecasts really where it's going to go. Really enjoyed it so far. Had lots of opportunities for training. Been to Hinkley Point C, which was really eye-opening. Done a few courses to help me with engineering, because chemistry and engineering are quite different. But yeah, really enjoyed it so far. Dan?
Hi, I'm Dan. I did an undergraduate in computer science, and I'm a cybersecurity graduate. It overlaps a lot with the IT and data grads. I can't be any more precise about explaining my role, because in this grad scheme you get a lot of freedom to choose your development plan and aim yourself at what type of job in the cyber sector or IT sector you want. I was at Sellafield doing a very technical role, and now I'm at NDA doing a more procedural role in information security. Yeah, I added the cyber grads with the IT grads because it has been known to overlap a bit. And for example, an IT grad's doing a cyber placement, and there's a lot of flexibility in my pathway. Rhian?
Yeah, I did. I'm Rhian. I did a 3D CAD engineering degree, but I went into management, so out of a technical role, but still in very technical departments. So I spent my first year of the grad scheme at the Dounreay power plant up in the north of Scotland. I worked on reactor dismantling strategy for their prototype fast reactor, which involved sort of getting together lots of engineers on site, off site, bring them all together to try and talk about the strategy for dismantling it in the future. I also briefly worked in the fuel cycle area there, in one of the cells, working on some of the old robotics that they have that have kind of fallen to disrepair, and sort of the steps to get that out without obviously contamination. I'm now in the NDA, where I do group-wide technology deployment. So in my team, we are trying to get the same technology rolled out to all the sites, so everyone's on the same sort of playing field, and we can share information across the group. So that's what I've been doing so far. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma. I did a degree in politics and international relations, but I took an interest into nuclear within my studies. I am sponsored by NRS as well, similar to Rhian, and I'm also a project management graduate. So my last year I was with NRS at Harwell, and I specifically worked on a project called 220, which is a experimental chemical building which we need to decommission and demolish. Basically, we have a few Magnox reactors on site, and that building would take water from, or the cooling water, and it would just do experiments on that. So the building has got a lot of contamination. So at the moment, they are in characterization contract. So just trying to work out exactly what's in the building, make sure we do everything correctly. So I took quite a large role in that. And then alongside that, I actually also did an AI project, just to throw it into the mix. And I'm now with the Nuclear Waste Services on the Geological Disposal Facility Programme. So I'm working in communities. Specifically, I'm looking at stakeholder engagement, because with the GDF programme, we want a community to agree and offer the land for us to work there. We don't want to just say we're going to do it. So I'm working a lot with the community partnership to make sure that everybody actually understands what we are doing, so that then when we do come to the next phase in our project, everybody is fully aware and the community can actually make a full round decision based on the knowledge we've given them. But yeah, so that's what I've done.
Cool. I feel like we should open up questions.
Open up the floor to some questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a chat function for you to add things in.
Yeah, not a problem
If you
at
want to
all.
ask us anything about what we've done so far or what we plan on doing in the future, how the year's gone.
Exactly, you spot on with the chat function. So yeah, guys, please feel free. Any questions you've got for these guys, they're more than happy to answer them. While we do wait, I might chuck some questions your way, your guys' way as well.
Cool.
So, in terms of my opinion, what I would ask first is, how did you guys get into these roles? Was it like a direct from university onwards? And what would you say is any recommendations for people going through that process, if that makes sense? So if someone wants to kick me off, and it'd be great to hear, a little line or two from all of you, if that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
do me too.
I can. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Emma.
Oh, okay.
You're ready.
It's just because I had an answer in my head already.
Go, don't lose it.
So, a bit random. So I did my thesis on the non-proliferation strategies of nuclear weapons, just because why not? So from that, I started looking into the nuclear industry, and my sister actually works with NRS in pensions. She knew about the graduate scheme, and she was the one who said you should give it a go. So that's kind of how I got onto that route. It was kind of handed to me thanks to my sister knowing where to look. I didn't actually know where to look for it, but yeah.
Slightly different for me. I didn't know much about nuclear, but went to my careers fair at uni and saw the stand and was chatting to the people there. And they mentioned the skills gap, which is coming up, which you'll probably hear if you do eventually join. You'll hear about it. There's a skills gap, and there's a big plan to fill that skills gap. And I really wanted to be a part of that because it just seemed like there was a lot of progression available quite early on in your career, and it seemed like quite an exciting opportunity. So I applied for, I think, 6 different nuclear places. I got this one, which I'm quite happy about actually, because it means I can go try 3 of the other ones that I wanted to go to. So yeah, for me, I went to the careers fair and saw it as an opportunity. Really, it was quite selfish, but I'm glad that I'm here now because it's a really exciting industry. Someone else, Mike?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, so I didn't mention it because I was the first to go and didn't really know the kind of what to say. But I studied a master's in digital business, so I kind of was looking at industries which were improving in regards to like AI, where there was gaps for me to be able to work on like on AI and similar advanced technologies. And then I'm from Cumbria, so I was quite influenced by STEM activities through Sellafield when I was younger. So I was aware of the industry and the excitement that was going on within it and what's coming up. So I looked into it. I had previous friends that had been on the scheme and all kind of had great words to say about it. So I looked into it myself and started to apply. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what industry I wanted to be in, but I knew that I wanted to be doing meaningful work in an industry which was exciting. So, for me, nuclear was just a bit of a no-brainer, really. And then when I saw the scheme and what there was to offer, it was it was great.
For me, I was kind of similar to Jacq, where I didn't know much about nuclear beforehand. I was part of a STEM mentorship program when I was at university for girls in STEM, and my mentor was a project manager working for a banking company. And when I spoke to her and explained like what I did at university, what I enjoyed doing, she recommended that I go into project management, but obviously my interests were aligned with technology-based industries. So that's what I was looking for, was project management grad schemes, but in very heavy technology and engineering industries. And then I think similar to Jacq, I then applied to a couple of nuclear ones because I found that sort of aligned for what I was looking for. And yeah, I like this one the best because it allows you to move around as opposed to some of the others. But equally good, I think.
I'd never heard of this grad scheme or even thought about the nuclear sector when I was at university. I went to a university in the south, and there's not as big representation on this career fairs there as there is in the north. That's just because that's mostly where we're based in north. I first heard about nuclear from just watching TV shows and someone who's doing cybersecurity, and this is something I got feedback and they said they loved, is I like the idea of protecting something that's worth protecting instead of just protecting Facebook's database and stuff like that. Not that, your personal data is not worth protecting. It's just I like the idea of it could potentially make a difference in the real world. For the IT grads, any advice I'd really give in the sort of application process is general advice is work on soft skills. They want you to be technically minded and know your technical ability, but that's kind of what your degree proves. Having your degree gets you through the door, and then when you're in the application process for this graduate scheme, more so than probably other grad schemes in the nuclear sector, they want you to have good interpersonal skills, because I think, like Jacq said, there's a big skill bridge, and I think they're mostly trying to aim our graduate pathway at management. So they want people with good team working skills, leadership potential, communication, and I think not answering one of the questions in the question, but for cyber and a little bit less, but also IT by extension, anyone from any STEM background can do IT and cyber. One of my co-workers is did psychology at university, and he's doing cyber, and he's not missed a step. It's the more so that's me from my pathway.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, and I think it's fair to me to say that all you guys kind of had your own unique way into the business, if that makes sense. There's not like one strict path. It's kind of find your own way, even if that be from different kind of courses in university, or maybe I believe one of you said, hearing it from a mouth of word or something like that, or someone personal experience. So yeah, that's really, really good, and I do appreciate kind of putting your opinion on that as well. That's perfect. So we have got a couple of questions coming in. I'll just go through them now. So one of them is, what is the most exciting opportunity you've had on the scheme? Whoever wants to kick us off can do, and we'll kind of do this as quick fire, if that makes sense.
I'll jump in. Visit to Hinkley Point C. It was absolutely eye-opening how big it is. I worked at Sellafield site. It's massive there, but then you go to Hinkley, and understanding what it's going to do for the country, it's going to give energy to 6 million homes. But the scale of it, absolutely, yeah, Hinkley for me. Someone else.
I can go. The site visits are really, really good. I went to UKAEA in Oxford in Culham, and you can really see all the different parts to a site. It's a real eye opener. And in terms of like my actual work day to day, so I'm working on A&T policy for SMRs and AMRs that aren't even existing at the minute. It's really interesting to see the different kind of opinions and how they vary and how they differ from the previous government, for example. I think it was quite a nerve-wracking time coming in for when we came in for DESNES, to see how how is this new government going to perceive the work that the previous government had undertaken to this point. So that was really interesting. And then whilst I was at the NDA, I was part of the team that put together the implementation for Vena, which is a automated accruals process to streamline the accruals. So that was doing things from the testing of the technology right up until the training and the the communication packages for the technology, because unfortunately a workforce could be so set in their ways or so used to using a specific technology, and you realize very quickly things like, for example, communication and training, they are some of the most important parts of that implementation process, because if you don't nail that, then unfortunately they from a user perspective, it's going to be hard to, well, you're probably not going to want to use that one, and you probably want to go revert to your old ways. So yeah, I guess in terms of just day-to-day work, it's you are working on projects which are just so relevant and new, and sometimes not even a thing yet, but working towards them when they do come to fruition. But yeah, that's it for me.
I can go if you want. So I was also going to say UKAA because that was amazing, especially seeing all the robotics there in the race department. That is incredible. So if you manage to go, I'd highly recommend it. Hello.
Just say hello. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. And then something that's actually I haven't done yet, but very exciting, is that next month I'm actually going to Germany for about 5 days for a nuclear decommissioning conference. So depending how much you know about the grad scheme already, you get there is some opportunity to travel outside of the country, depending on how much that experience will be good for your development and what you can bring back to the industry. So this conference is going to be really interesting, and I'm going with another one of the other graduates. So haven't done it yet, but I'm hoping it's going to be as exciting as I think it's going to be. So.
Yeah, very similar to that. I had an international conference earlier in the year back in May. There was a group of us, Michael was one of them. We went to France to go to an innovation for decommissioning conference, which was really good, very relevant to our industry, and like Emma was saying, it's a great experience to sort of meet professionals from all over the world and sort of just increase your network, learn more, especially it's like early careers in the industry. A lot of people want to ask you questions as well. Young people in the industry are kind of a novelty at the moment. So we do get treated slightly differently, not in a way at all. They do regard us different, always like eager to kind of part of their knowledge on you, because it's so excited that new people are joining the industry.
I agree what the last two said. It's the conferences more so than anything else that stands out for me so far. What a lot of them, they've pretty much covered them all, but what they haven't really mentioned is in the majority of cases, you find these conferences and training opportunities yourself. So it's really about being an individual and using those networking skills to find out things. So if you kind of throughout the grad scheme sit back and don't do the research and don't find out these good conferences, then you're not going to not get nothing, because they might suggest some to you, but you probably will miss out on some opportunities yourself. So yeah, it's definitely the conferences for me, and it's the ones that I've found and made a business case to go on to, and that have probably been more of a shout out to me than the other ones.
Yeah, amazing, guys. Thank you very much for that. Another question is just coming. It's it's probably give guys a really good insight into basically the day-to-day. So what it says is, what's the day-to-day look like for a grad? What projects do you get involved with? And I just want to add on to that as well, kind of the culture as well, because for me personally, that would be a big thing. Joining such a big company that's nuclear, it's quite scary. What is it like? Like you're walking on your first day. What's that like?
I don't mind going first again. So I'd say it's quite different depending on where you are. First comment up at Sellafield was different to where I am now. Walking onto site, I'm not going to lie and say it was easy. It is scary. It's big. The big buildings. And it's like not a concrete jungle because it's not concrete. It's like a metal jungle. I don't know how to explain it. Absolutely massive. There's vehicles everywhere. But once you get into the office, it's just like any other office. So I would say if you have the opportunity to get around the sites, it's absolutely worth it because they're amazing. They're eye-opening. But once you step into the office on the site, it's just like any other office anywhere else. So I wouldn't be like put off just because it looks big and scary. Day-to-day wise, when I was at Sellafield, it was very, very technical. I was looking at, so just a reminder, I'm a chemistry graduate. So I was looking at like the contamination in water, discharges and where the discharges should go. There was a transfer that was happening and I was working on the transfer and where the material might be left. So yeah, very technical thing. And then when I moved over to DESNZ, it's completely different. I don't know how much the people on the call know about policy, but I'm working on policy now, and there's not much technical involved anymore. But I'm really, really enjoying it. And I think that's probably one of the best things about the scheme. You can just go try different things. Doing a chemistry degree and then going working for the government, working on policy and working with like ministers and secretary of states is probably not what I had on my bingo card for my career. But here I am a year down the line doing exactly that. So yeah, if you do want to try something different, that's good. And part of your day-to-day involves speaking to different people, trying to find those opportunities. So yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, I think I can kind of speak similarly to Jacq in terms of having done DESNZ, obviously policy, which is this year, and then NDA last year. Yeah, in terms of like what's day-to-day looking like, it's dependent on your sponsor and the activities that are currently going on in your sponsor. But I can speak from my experience at NDA. It's you, for instance, you work on long projects over a period of time, whereas at DESNZ, you're looking at the news one morning and then during the day you're then working on what has happened in the news. It's it's exciting and it's fast paced, but then at the NDA it's maybe a bit slower, but you're working on projects which have got more long-term meaning. So yeah, I guess it depends on what on your sponsor and the activities of that. But then again, like in terms of the office, like Jacq was saying, everyone's really nice, willing to speak. So, but all about that knowledge kind of transfer now. It's the main focus to bridge that skills gap. People are retiring in the sector and want to pass on the knowledge that is going to aid people going forwards in those future projects. So yeah.
Because I was on site, like Jacq, I was on site every day, and first it is a little overwhelming. Dunray is half the size of Sellafield, but it's still, you go on site and it's a nuclear reactor right there. So there is that when you're on site, but I think over time, like Jacq was saying, an office is just an office. You were going in, you're just working in the office. It so happened to be on a site. The novelty never wore off for me. I really enjoyed going on site every day. I work in a nuclear power plant. It's quite cool. But because I was working in one of the reactors specifically, it was a bit more like, everyone walking around in their high vis and their full body suits. I spoke to a lot of engineers in my role, even though I wasn't doing the engineering specifically myself. But my day-to-day, it involved a lot of papers, drawings, models, and diagrams of the reactor itself. I worked with the head engineer in that reactor, working on the strategy. So although my role wasn't technical, I was doing a lot of technical stuff and dealing with a lot of technical information. And then once I was in the FCA, I was in the only DV part of site. So they were very, very strict with what information I was and wasn't allowed to have access to, because it was really, really sensitive material that we were dealing with. I think also for me, Dunray is in such an isolated location. I went with one other grad from the grad scheme, and Dunray had their own grad scheme. We all became very, very close. So like everyone is very friendly. I'd say that even on our grad scheme as well, everyone is really friendly when we meet up for all the big training events and whatnot. It is just like spending time with your friends as well as getting training. So in that sense, the culture is really good. You know, everyone on site or in the offices are all very friendly and willing to help. And then all the people on your level, all the grads, are all just excited to be there and just want to enjoy your time. So it's been really good.
Yeah, so similar to the others, I was on site every single day. So the ones at the reactors at Harwell are a little bit, they're not quite as intense as probably like, you know, when you're going to Dunray, it's not a massive dome, but it's still just, it's very impressive to like just drive past them and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. But my day to day, because we were going, or we are now in contract with Westinghouse, we constantly had them in. They're primarily in Cumbria, but they come down to the office quite a lot. So most of my day, again, a little bit similar to Rianne from the project management side of things, like I was constantly looking at drawings, at different procedures, different documents that we had to get in place. And then I also had quite a large role in the commercial side of things, just because we had to make sure that every single thing that the contractors were doing was to budget, to target on the timeline. You know, we can't, as soon as one thing kind of goes out of place, it can rock everything out. So it was very much quite, I don't know, even though the project is going, it's not going to be demolished for till like the 2040s. But when you're in contract, it actually does feel quite fast paced, because I went into the office and I usually had about 5 people coming up to me saying, have you done this? And I was like, oh my God, okay. So it was quite, I personally liked fast paced. That worked really well for me. I got really into that. It's a bit different now because with NWS, my team are very much located all around the UK. So I'm in Oxfordshire, but we have some people in Cumbria and some people in Wales. So I don't get to see them as often, but it's still really interesting. It's probably a little bit more slower paced, but there's still a lot of politics into it, because obviously we're keeping track of what the community are saying, because they do like to go on the news and say some things without telling us first. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. So I would highly recommend it. Like, you really do just get a mix of everything. But yeah. Don't know if Dan wants to say something.
Thanks, Emma. My first comment at Sellafield was probably as niche to nuclear cybersecurity as you can get. And even then, I was probably on site once every 2 weeks. I was mostly in one of the offices outside of the Sellafield site gates, just in town centre. So, and that's kind of like the job role I'm in now at the NDA. It's very much just general cybersecurity for a business organization. There's only fairly few tasks that I'll come across that I'll be like, oh, that's unique to nuclear. So so now I'm in a role where it's just cybersecurity at any other organization. So, and it's much less. Like Jacq said, walking onto Sellafield for the first time was a big, like, dunking your head in the water. Now I'm at NDA. It seems much more I mean, there's still a lot of pressure and procedures to go through, but compared to Sellafield and working on an actual nuclear license site, it's much more relaxed. Day to day, I think, like I already mentioned, me personally, from my experience, I've had a lot of freedom to chase my own tasks and choose my own projects that I want to approach within reason. That's why I mentioned soft skills. If you can make a point to your line manager or his line manager about a business need of why this project's needed, then they will take they've taken me seriously. They'll appreciate your expertise and your different point of looking at it. And if you're not too busy, because you are there to fill a job role, there will be tasks that you have to do. You can't talk yourself out of these tasks. And even then, they're not like busy tasks. You've got a degree and they'll want to use your skills in your job. Every line manager that I've had from NDA and Sellafield, they have to do mandatory training about how to be a line manager and how to be good for your graduates. So they will want to work with you, give you tasks that you're passionate about, align the goals of what you want to achieve and what you want to work on yourself. I mean, like, develop the skills you want to work and also aid the organization, which is quite good. I don't know, I might have been lucky I've only had 2 line managers, I might have been lucky with them, but both of them were really good at helping me choose tasks that met that niche of working what I wanted to work on, skills for myself. Day to day, it's different. I can't give you what I do every day. It's just drastically different on what task I'm doing.
Fair enough. That's all great. We'll just move on to the next question, and this is more specifics on why did you pick NDA over other schemes? So what was the main attraction to picking NDA really? Because as I said before, it's a big company, especially in the nuclear sector as well. That to me would be the most daunting thing ever. It's like going up to Google and asking for a job. So what attracted you to NDA in the first place?
I'm happy to start. I did have a look at a lot of different other graduate schemes. One of them, I think, being BAE, I think it was, yeah. And actually something that I really liked was that, and I suspect the others are going to agree with me on this one, is the fact that we do get to move around in the sense that because there are so many other companies within the NDA, you're not just working with one company, say, for 2 years, and that is all you're going to get. You are getting so much more out of it because you are just moving around. So with NRS, it was really interesting, and I actually loved working there. And now with NWS, even though both under the NDA, the procedures and the processes are completely different, and the work is completely different. It's just not something you would get anywhere else. And I do like the fact that when we come out of this grad scheme, I can confidently say, I've worked in 3 different companies. These are the skill sets that I've taken from every single one of them. And you can almost merge what you've learned. Like a lot of the things that I learned within NRS, I've actually started bringing to NWS with me. And I've even made a few suggestions because, learning doesn't just stop at one company. We can bring in, it's the whole knowledge transfer thing. Like Michael has said before, we can bring everything together to make systems flow better. So I think primarily for me, that was one of the things that I absolutely loved. And then a little bonus on the side was definitely the fact that I knew I could probably do some international travel, which I suspect some others will probably agree with as well. That was just a nice little bonus, knowing that they were going to put money aside for us to go and explore even further outside of the NDA. So that's what my view was on it, really.
Yeah, I think very, very similar to Emma. It was the idea of 3 secondments, getting to move around, try different things, experience both on-site placements and then also office-based placements or even remote working is also good in the aspect that you maybe don't necessarily consider. It's all within industry, but that also allows you to work out like where you enjoy working as well. So it gives that kind of experience. Definitely the CPD budget and having access to that, which involves like your international travel, but the fact that you sort of get to pick the conferences, training courses. The grad scheme offers training for depending on disciplines, and then also mandatory training for all the grads. But if there's any extra training that you found that you can justify to the company, they'll allow you to use your CPD for that. So having that kind of freedom to look for what you're specifically interested in and really tailor the scheme to you instead of just being 1 out of 100, it's been quite good.
I'll follow on from that because the CPD was a pretty big. I didn't really. My master's project was in a lab, and I didn't really enjoy being in the lab. I did a chemistry degree, didn't really enjoy being in the lab, and a lot of people just think you do a chemistry degree, and the next thing you do is, oh well, you're just going to have a lab jacket on for the rest of your career, and that's that. So the CPD budget allowed me money that was put aside for me to like move away from that. So that was a big draw, to be honest. And the first course I did was chemical engineering for scientists and other engineers, which I'd highly recommend if you're going to come onto the course as a chemistry person. Highly, highly recommend that because it just puts into context the stuff that you learn in your degree into an engineering environment, which means you can then go do that office thing. And on top of that, the travel involved with it, the opportunity to go to conferences. Emma mentioned international. I've not been lucky enough to do any yet, but I'm looking all the time. So I would like to do international, but even the ones in the UK, I mentioned Hinckley earlier, it was eye-opening. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll go next. Yeah, I think for me, so I was looking at some other schemes in the in nuclear. So I was looking at BAE, similar to Emma. I was also looking at Sellafield and their own graduate scheme. But I think the difference was for me is the fact that you do 2 years, 3 secondments, and they are so different from one another. You aren't working in the same organization. You are, like I worked in finance and reporting at the NDA, and I'm now working on policy in government, and it's you don't get that on other graduate schemes. 2 years secondments to 6 months as well. So there's an emphasis to be, that you are going to be thrown at the deep end, and it's a bit of a sink or swim kind of scenario. But in those over a 6-month period, there is no better way to learn, and that shouldn't scare you or put you off from that opportunity because, everyone makes mistakes, and your managers and line managers, they are well aware of the fact that you are just a graduate and you haven't maybe had this sort of experience in the sector previously. So everyone's really nice, everyone's really friendly. So yeah, I guess similarly in regards to the opportunities, I've been to France twice already in this past year, so I can only speak very highly on international conferences and the opportunity to go abroad and even in the UK and see what people are doing in the industry to revolutionize what we're doing and how we're going to get to our aims. So yeah, that's it for me.
I agree with everyone what they've all said about how it's a very free, different secondments, different organisations, lots of chance to network. That's the main reason I chose this grad scheme, just because of how much freedom you have to go where you want, do what you want.
Amazing. So yeah, we have got around 10 minutes left, so we'll get through as many questions as we can before we run out of time. So yeah, another question is, I think this is because you are using quite a lot of anagrams, so NDA and all that kind of stuff. Is somebody okay just to quickly go through which ones they are? Because if you're anything like me, I'm a little bit lost. If that's okay.
Yeah, I'll walk you through it. So there's NDA, which is Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. So that's like the owner of the other 4 that we're going to mention. They group them together. More centralized, look at bigger picture strategy things. Sellafield, which is, I mean, if you read the news, you probably know what Sellafield is. It's in the news quite a lot. That's where all the used spent fuel goes. They have the ponds. They're doing quite a lot at Sellafield. That's in West Cumbria. There is NRS, which is Nuclear Restoration Services. Yeah, they're based all over the place. Any old reactor, including Dounreay, which is where Rianne was, is grouped under NRS. One that we haven't mentioned is NTS, which is Nuclear Transport Solutions. I don't think anybody's been seconded there. Am I right in saying that? No, so none of us have been seconded there, but there's quite a lot of our colleagues that are based there. They love, everybody that's been there loves it. I think it's really, really interesting. So what NTS does is basically moves nuclear material around. So they have boats or vessels, they have trains, and they pick up any spent fuel and take it probably to Sellafield. But they also pick up stuff from Japan and move it over. They move things from America, and they have like a commercial side as well as a civil public side. So they're quite an interesting company to work for if you're a commercial graduate. And then the final one, which I haven't mentioned, is NWS, which is Nuclear Waste Services, which encompasses three different things now, I think, actually. The GDF, so the Geological Disposal Facility, long-term storage for nuclear stuff, probably going to happen in like 2050. So probably in our career time, but yeah, down the line yet. What's the other one? Oh, DRIG, which is something to do with intermediate level waste or low level waste repository. That's it. So that's at DRIG, again in West Cumbria, and then there's one other, but I can't remember what that is. Oh, Integrated Waste Management, and that's NWS. Yeah, they have quite a lot going on.
Do we mention Desnes as well, Jacq?
Oh yeah, and then
Josh,
myself
you
and
were on
Mike
mute.
both work for
I realise that.
Desnes.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Yeah,
myself
all
and
I'm
Mike
saying is
both work for Desnes as well,
Yeah,
which is
perfect.
like the government body. So that's Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero, and they work in everything nuclear. So it's sort of it's everything to do with energy, but there's a specific nuclear sector of it, which myself and Mike work in. So they're like the overarching government body.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's good enough.
Am I right in thinking that, you know, when you are talking about moving from one place to another, that's between them companies or businesses? Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes. So we call them opcos.
Yep.
So you'd be moving around different opcos for each secondment.
Yeah, perfect. And it's just a case of, you know, you ask maybe your line manager or someone like that if you know you'd like to try over there, or is it a case of the opportunity opens and then you can move there by request?
That kind of depends. I would say Energous, our company, have started doing these things called graduate bios, where they like us to kind of say, this is what we've been doing, this is our skill set so far, and then they like to disperse those throughout the NDA group, and then the NDA, any of the company under the NDA can kind of say, oh, maybe we want this graduate. But I think I'm right in saying this, that actually a lot of us probably source our secondments ourselves. I would say that's probably what I've been doing and plan to do for my last one, just because if you do it yourself, obviously you've got to spend time and you've got to network, which is skills in themselves, which are really good to pick up on, but also you can find something that you know you specifically want to do that will really work for your development. And also, like, if you have a location in mind where you might want to live. So like for me, I'm sorry, Michael, I do not want to live in Cumbria. I've been looking.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I've been more looking in certain areas because I like flat surfaces. But so that is quite helpful. So I'd say those are probably the two routes that you can go down. Yes, they can kind of be sourced for you, but I would always probably suggest doing it yourself.
Amazing.
Just want to say Cumbria isn't bad, by the way.
It's
not a
not.
bad
It's
place.
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
No, I love visiting. I just don't want to live there.
Just want to say I'm from Cumbria and I love it, and I'm here now, so it's great.
Amazing. I think we've got enough time just to squeeze in one more question. And this one comes from an anonymous user, and it says, "Is there a future for nuclear energy?" So, without like giving any secret plans away, what's your guys' opinion on like the future of where energy is moving to? Because I know a lot more greener, kind of, a lot more governments trying to go greener and greener. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, there's definitely a big future for nuclear energy. I think in both sides, you've got job security for life. Decommissioning, it's going to take at least 100 years to get rid of all the sites, so that's quite a stable future. But in regards to nuclear energy, SMRs are the next big thing. You might have seen that, like, Microsoft and Google are running SMRs to power all their stuff. All the big companies worldwide are getting SMRs. For the UK, that's Rolls-Royce. They're working on SMR at the moment. We've also had new builds, like Jacq mentioned earlier. He had a visit to Hinkley C. So that's a new build that's happening in the UK as well, currently ongoing. So it's absolutely a possible future. It's going to be around a while. You're right, especially with the move to green, sustainable energy. I think COP28 last year had a big emphasis on it. There was a lot of members of the nuclear industry that attended that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be very prominent.
Yeah, I'd like to add just, I mean, in an ideal world, we would love to just be able to use renewables. But unfortunately, renewables aren't going to be able to power the demands that we need for energy. So nuclear is going to have a big part to play. Government are putting in plans, supporting companies to develop SMRs in the UK and AMRs. So whether that's, within SMRs or even at the other side of it in terms of the end of life of a site, as Rianne said, decommissioning is huge, and you will have a job for life, even if it's, at one end or the other. Nuclear has still got a prominent part to play within the UK energy mix. So yeah, I'd completely agree with Rianne.
Yeah, agree with Mike fully.
Sorry, an SMR is a small modular reactor. There was just a question in the chat.
Sorry, I just put that in because I just thought it's a bad habit in the nuclear industry that we always
100%.
use acronyms, and
Then
we completely forget to actually tell people what they mean.
Yeah. Just adding to that, what I would say is, you mentioned nuclear energy was the question specifically. With nuclear energy comes waste, which is sort of where we all work at the moment, and that waste has to be dealt with because it's not nice, it's nasty stuff. And the NDA's plan, I think it was mentioned earlier, is 120 years. Realistically, it's longer than that. So you will have a job for life. If you did get into it, your kids would also have a job for life, and their kids probably would as well. So yeah, energy, even if we do build new reactors, with that becomes more waste. So it's worth mentioning, nuclear energy is a big part of our future, but the waste comes with that, and somebody's got to deal with it, and that's our job. Yeah,
no, that's perfect. And I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head there with that question, about just job security in the future. So yeah, no, I really do appreciate that. Now we do have a couple more minutes, so 1 minute now. Does anybody want to give me just a quick closing statement, if that's okay?
I don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I speak on behalf of all of us here. It's well worth applying for the scheme. We've all really enjoyed it. There's so many opportunities to do different things, learn about different things. There's an integrated training plan which you have to get involved with. It's a really good opportunity to meet higher ups in the industry, talk to people, and travel. So yeah, recommend the scheme, and feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to. I think we'll all have LinkedIn if you can remember our names. If not,
we'll put them in the chat.
Yeah.
I'd just like to close as well by saying I've seen there's a question about non-STEM backgrounds. If you're coming from there looking to apply to being in the NDA, I am a non-STEM background, and that worried me to begin with. But you shouldn't worry. You know, it's good to be nervous and it's good to be scared of opportunities, because if you're feeling too comfortable, then you're in the wrong job, unfortunately, in my opinion. So. And the scheme's expanding to even more roles that are outside of STEM subjects. So, yeah, don't feel like your resume or your degree or your skills aren't going to be suffice in some sort of role within the NDA or within the on the scheme, because there's something for everyone, and everyone's got a part to play, I guess, in the future for nuclear.
Amazing. Well, yeah. As I've mentioned, we have just run out of time, so I do apologise about that. I do appreciate, obviously, you guys joining us, sharing your experiences and going through all them questions. And I hope everybody in the chat found it useful and insightful. If you did miss anything, this was recorded. It will be on our website and on our YouTube in the next coming week. So just career map TUV. So yeah, so that's everything. So I appreciate everybody joining, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.